Hey there, 918ers. It is Geek Boy, and I'm coming to you live from the ultra secret, secure, and still socially distant fan cave located in parts unknown right here in the 918. I want to welcome everyone to this week's installment of This Fantastic Week, a live program where we digest, discuss, and ruminate on the biggest genre and fandom news stories of the past week. We are in season 3 of this potpourri of pontification, and believe me, no one is more surprised than I am. Yes, that's right. That's right. As you can see, folks, we have some interesting folks with us tonight. All the way, and also Courtney. Courtney O'Connor is already in the chat room tonight, so I appreciate you being here, Courtney.
Oh, Courtney.
Yes, I want to thank her and everyone else who's tuned in for tonight's broadcast. And as always, we certainly hope everyone who is tuned in enjoys the show. We want all of your comments, even if you're watching after the fact, because we do get notifications of when those drop, and we will do our best to respond. Also, if you do like what you see, please leave a like and share this video. Like, really share it. Like, share it everywhere you can. Trying to build those followers up. Also, check your settings and make sure that you're getting notified when we go live on Facebook. Facebook's been at it again, changing some of their terms and conditions. So we want to make sure that everyone knows when we go live. So we don't want any one of you to miss out on any of our growing blocks of programming. Also, if you're so inclined, please jump over to our YouTube pardon me, YouTube page and like and subscribe to it as well. We're trying to grow our presence there. And so if you can help us on that platform, we would appreciate it. Also, we've kind of had some informal talks. We are going to be migrating this program to YouTube exclusively. We don't know when that's going to happen yet. We're still having some talks about that. Also, Mr. Narwhal is preparing some YouTube exclusive programming that I think he's going to drop next week. It is called, just in case you're wondering what it might be, it is called Fanurism Flicks, and I'll let you guys just kind of ruminate and decide what that might be. So, with all that being said, we got a lot of ground to cover tonight, but thankfully,
do we want to play the trailer?
Oh,
right?
do you have it ready?
I have it ready, man.
Yes. Okay, so folks, here we have an exclusive premiere of the trailer for Fanurism Flicks, courtesy of Mr. Narwhal. Tell you what, Reverend, why don't you go ahead and cue that up for us? Yes, that's right. So Fanurism Flicks. As you can see, Mr. Narwhal is going to be sharing his deep library of curated X, Y, and Z rated films. These are not even B flicks. These are like X, Y, and Z flicks. That's his words, not mine. So we can't wait for that to drop. It's the first episode is going to start dropping next week. There's a couple things we need to iron out, but there's no reason he can't get rolling on it right now. So with all that being said, we have a lot of ground to cover tonight, but thankfully, as always, I do not have to do it alone. I have not one, but two invaluable co-hosts helping me up tonight. First up on the mic, he's back, folks. He's been away for a while, entirely too much for my liking. The Mozart of Microsoft, the desktop Dr. Feelgood, and just recently, your fully ordained high priest of the high tech. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Reverend IT Geek is back.
I am so glad to be back. I miss every night that I don't get to do this with you guys. It's so much fun. And I know you guys miss my soundboard when it's, when it's not part of the show. So
well, no, I don't know if you could say we were missing it, but you know.
No, you were missing. I could tell. I was watching some of the shows. The little tears were starting to come down the face. Like, where's my cheer? Where's my?
Yeah,
when Geek Boy gets out of line. You know, you got to give him a little smack, No, I'm happy to be back, and though I'd like to say some of my traveling days are, you know, a little bit behind me. I still got some more kind of queued up and everything, so there'll be a few more shows I'll miss from time to time. But always happy to be in. And Courtney, thank you, Buddy Love. Yes,
Buddy Love. Yes,
that's one of my favorite names. So glad to be back.
Well, we are glad to have you, sir. Next up, he is second in introduction only. He is the combo move kingpin, the drone camera Dolomite, the gamer with the golden throat. That's right, folks. The magnificent Mr. Goldar is in the house tonight. Welcome, sir. Yes.
Hope everybody's having a great night. Yeah. Glad to be here. Got a great show for you guys, so stick around.
Yeah. So tell you what, since we're still in self-promotion mode, which I don't know the fanboys 918 ever leaves self-promotion mode.
We do not. We do not.
Shamefully shilling. You know, that's right. And that's right. Thank you. I'll tell you what, Goldar, why don't you talk about a little bit of programming that you're doing for us? You've been doing it for a while, and are we at episode 9 of the latest installment?
We're actually on episode 11.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah. So we're on episode 11 of God of War. I play Fanboys Nightcrawlers, which I drop an episode every late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, of a game that I'm playing the campaign through. And like I was saying, I'm playing God of War. This is the 2018 version. So this is basically Kratos and his son Atreus up against the Norse gods. Whereas, you know, previous God of War games, he was against the Greek gods, which were basically his family. But now we're fighting against Thor and Odin and some of Thor's sons, his brother. You know, the first boss fight that we really had in the game was against the Stranger, but we found out that that was actually Thor's brother that we actually had to fight against. So
not Loki. Not Loki. Don't want to
not Loki.
Anyone. No, everybody may say you say Thor's brother, and people automatically goes to Loki.
Yeah,
we got to warn people there. He has a lot of brothers.
He does. He has multiple brothers.
Odin was quite prolific.
He was.
So we fought against
Pimp Daddy Odin.
Pimp Daddy Odin.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great I may rebrand myself that.
But
you have to lose an eye first. Anyway, sorry, Goldar. Don't keep interrupt you. Go ahead.
But yeah, we fought against Thor's brother Balder, not Loki, but Balder. In the first episode, and then the latest episode, we are making our way up the mountain after freeing the light of Alfheim from the dark elves, and we cleared away the black breath that was at the mountain base that was preventing us from traveling up. So basically, we're traveling through the cavern, fighting some trolls, and we're gonna make it to the top, and we're gonna make our way and find a new ally at the top of the mountain base. So yeah, that's gonna be a fun episode. I've played ahead, probably about.
You have, huh?
Yeah, I played ahead probably a good 10, maybe 12 sessions.
Oh my God!
Just to try to get ahead. Shugal and I are about to be moving here in a little bit, so I'll keep the programming going while we're in the midst of moving. But I may try to double up on some episodes, so you don't have to wait through a week to find out what happens at certain points.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we're at.
Hey,
Donald John Slaughter just joined us. I think I have never seen that name, but I love that last name.
He's a friend of mine. He is a man in the legal profession, and he has a magnificent middle name. So so yes, I'm glad you're here, DJ. Appreciate it.
Is he related to Sergeant Slaughter?
Yeah,
that's a great handle. That may be his handle if he ever joins us, Sergeant Slaughter. So.
Lisa just joined us as well.
All right,
welcome, Lisa.
That's right.
Our B5 gal.
That's right. B5 gal. Well, and what a great time, because I'm going to put a plug in for that piece of programming. We have rebranded our Friday night block of programming, which we did call Sci-Fi Friday, into a new program. Well, it's not new. We're what 10, 12, 13 weeks in. Is that right? Maybe more than that. Yeah, anyway, Reverend, what are we calling that now?
We're calling it Sci-Fi Friday.
That was worth just tuning in for that, folks. But
That's right.
okay, so anyway, yes.
You
So
almost got to
tomorrow
save that type of magic to the very end, but
you do,
know,
you really
you
do. Yeah.
do.
Girls love him and men want to be him, but what can I say? So anyway, tomorrow night we have a special 2-hour event of Sci-Fi Friday. It'll be featuring the only 2-part episode that the season 1 of Babylon 5 did, and that's what we're doing. The reason we rebranded it, we are tracking through the first season of the epic classic science fiction series Babylon 5. I say classic 1990s. You know, we got to say classic because a lot of it's in low def, and it doesn't quite look as good as it probably could have had it been made even 5 years later, but that's okay. It's been a great journey, and we are a little over 2/3 of the way through this march through the first season. And I'm sorry, as I said, season 1 only did 1 2-part episode, and we just thought, well, what the hell, why don't we do a 2-hour block this week, especially as it really pushes the Babylon 5 main story arc forward in a lot of ways. It's one of those episodes that has a lot of ramifications for the station, as well as the characters and the overall story of Babylon 5. And folks, if you've been casually watching or tuning in, this one has got it all. It's got world building, it's got epic space battles, it's got great character stuff, and it's got some eye-popping reveals, and one of which to me was a tribute to the classic sci-fi movie Forbidden Planet. That's right, folks. I'm talking about A Voice in the Wilderness. That will be the episode we will be airing tomorrow night. So tune in. There's going to be a lot of fun. And I believe, unless plans change, we're going to be doing this live in the same room, right, boys?
I believe so. I think that's our plan.
All right. This is going to be great. Sprout is watching from his bed.
And stop being perverted. Is he telling us to stop being perverted, or he needs to stop being perverted?
I don't
watching
know if it's being perverted. He's
like,
watching from the bed. So.
He sounds kind of perverted. I mean,
I know, but
watching from the pool is a lot cooler, and we know he's got a pool.
I know. Yes, we do, don't we?
Yeah.
So
never been invited, Sprout. Never been invited.
Well, it's a long drive, dude. Wow. Sprout's one of our 918 transplants. He is taking the 918 sensibilities up north to Illinois. Believe me, they can use all that they can get. Believe me. So I guess first up, unfortunately, we have a segment that we've had to add back, and that is our Rest in Peace segment. We've had 2 actors of note pass away here this week. But worth it. First up is Frank Bonner. He probably, the name may not ring a bell, but his most iconic role was that of Herb Tarlick on WKRP in Cincinnati. That's right, folks. Herb has closed his last deal, and he's hung up the plaid jacket for good. He passed away at the age of 79, and he had a really deep resume, even though WKRP is what he's going to be known for. I mean, he did a lot of stuff. He went all the way back to Mannix, from like the late 60s. And
I didn't realize he was on that either. Man, that's an oldie.
Mannix, he stretched all the way into, all the sitcoms and everything else. Of course, he did Love Boat.
Of course.
And I know this.
Who didn't do Love Boat? Who didn't Love Boat?
So, yeah. Patrick Stewart is the only person that hasn't done Love Boat, and how ironic is that?
Yeah.
And I know that he did Love Boat because Turtle Gal recently discovered that Love Boat is available, all 11 seasons of Love Boat is available on Paramount Plus, and she tracked through all of them. So she tracked through all 11 seasons and all 4 scripts of Love Boat that are available on Paramount Plus. The second RIP we have.
How many seasons was that? How many seasons?
11.
11 Love Boat seasons.
Yes, 11. Trust me, folks, you don't need Julie in your life that bad. The second RIP we have is I hate to say, it's almost is a little bit higher profile, just because everybody immediately knows who it is, and that is Ned Beatty. Passed away this past week. Ned Beatty, who we know has done, his resume is so deep and so amazing, and his body of work is so wide that it's it's almost hard to quantify. For us as cinephiles and genre folks, we know that his breakout role was in Deliverance. Everybody knows that famous scene. We're not going to go into detail on that. But, I mean, he also, as we all know, he was in Silver Streak. He was in All the President's Men which is a great role. But we also know him probably from his genre work. You know, he was Otis in Superman and Superman 2. He was he played Lex Luthor's henchman. But I mean, he did everything from Promises in the Dark to 1941 to Stroker Ace. I mean, this guy could weave in and out of comedy and drama and everything in between, and he had no problem playing basically unsympathetic characters. So he passed away at his home, and so that's all I have to say. But our Fanboys 918 sends their condolences out to the families of both Frank Bonner and Ned Beatty. Unless either one of you guys have anything you want to add.
Oh, no, I don't have anything to add.
We'll just catch up real quick on some of our posts. Sprout says, come back, but worth it. Talking about the transplant up to Illinois. Yeah. Courtney came back with all 4 scripts. Sprout came back with, wait, on the free version of Paramount Plus, for your Love Boat comment.
I think it is. Yes, it just you have to deal with commercials.
Yep. And then Sprout comment, he is best known for his purdy mouth.
Yes, that is his breakout role.
Yep.
So I guess we're going to kick things off with a new segment that we're going to start trying to do. And that was actually the Reverend's idea. And I'm going to let him do the inaugural version of it. And that is, we're going to do the music corner. Something we're going to add. And Reverend, why don't you go ahead and give him the history behind why we're adding this piece of program or this segment to the show?
So, for the longest time, I mean, 3 seasons now?
Yeah.
We've always talked about entertainment, and we always promote that, we'll talk about any form of entertainment, movies, TVs, band films, and in any segment like that, comic books. But we've always touched on music, and to my, I don't know, sadness, but I mean, we've just never really stayed focused on it. I mean, we've had some great talks about like Prince when he passed. We've done, I think we've done a couple other tributes of a great artists and stuff. But I just felt like we were definitely missing this genre of entertainment. So I proposed to Geek Boy the other day. So just to kind of fair warn everyone, I'm already in some deep waters with the Queen that I brought up this music corner idea, and the album we're going to talk about this week is the recent release of Maroon 5's Geordie album. Queen
Good
found
choice,
this. I think it's a great album. I did not inform the Queen until today that we'd be talking about it. Thought I'd try to surprise her and pull her on the show, but she one does not like surprises that I've been reminded again about.
How many years have you and the Queen been married, and you're still figuring this out?
So I'm just saying. But anyway, but what I'd like to do is when we on our future episodes, I'd like to come back to this music corner and we'll develop it and flesh it out. And it sounds like the turtle gal over there is just loving it.
Yep.
She's loving something over there.
Yep.
But we're gonna bring in new music. Everyone's gonna choose an album, either something that's been a new release or an album from your childhood or your younger years that really spoke to you. And I say we just talk about it. There's been some great albums I've listened through the years. I'm quite sure everyone has that special album in their life. But with that being said, we are going to be going into our first review. And again, I said that's Maroon 5's Geordie album. This released last week. And I tell you, the Queen and I are huge Maroon 5 fans. I mean, we've seen them like 3 or 4 times. They always put on a great show. There hasn't been an album they've released yet that I have not enjoyed immensely. And this one does not, in my personal opinion, does not. Oh, Queen just came upstairs. And she's giving me stink.
Okay, no, have her slide in there. Have her pull up a chair.
I'm thinking, does she want to come in? Is she? No.
Oh, here she comes. No, come on. Come on.
Huh? Hang on a second.
Come on.
She might chime in. She said she might chime in. Courtney came in. She said yes. Hope she's saying about Marine 5.
Bring the Queen in.
Are you there? Are you going to come in?
I'm not going to be on camera, but I'll try.
Oh, hell no. Bring her ass on camera.
John saying, bring your ass on camera.
Bring your ass on camera.
You afraid cat. Smelly cat, smelly cat. No, anyway.
That's a different song.
That's a different song. Oh, yep. Courtney's already said, hide the knives, hide the knives.
He's right.
So anyway,
That a bitch.
so like I said, Maroon 5's Jordy album released last
Yeah.
week. It's been just an all over great album. I mean, some of the things I like most about it is that they pulled in a bunch of other artists to collaborate on them, and not only help write them, but also participate on them. Stevie Nicks, Black Bear, Her, Megan Thee Stallion are a bunch of the artists that you'll find on this album with parts. I mean, we've heard some of the songs already out on the radio,
Right.
and it's already come out. But one thing I also kind of wanted to bring up about this is also is basically the album art. And so in my opinion, Maroon 5's always had some pretty interesting album art for the last probably 3 or 4 albums they released. This most recent
all of
one,
them are pretty unique, really.
yeah, they are. There's been a few that's just songs about Jane was a really cool cover. Their Maroon 5 one with just the neon B right there for 5 was kind of interesting take. But the this one, and then what was the other one? What was their last one that they had? Their Queen.
The pink pill, something about the
red, blue, pink, blue, red, blue pill, or something like that. I'm just butchering it all up. So, and of course,
well, if she get her on camera, she'll set you straight.
I know. Well, see, she's staring at me with haughty derision, and so it's getting nerve wracking. I'm like, I got a side eye right here, looking like I'm about to get smacked.
Do you want me to get my discussion about the album? Maybe.
Yeah,
oh, there she
ahead.
is. Look at her. That's awesome. Oh, that's great.
They're catching you. Here,
you.
we go.
It's like her head is like in space.
She stepped out. I tried to bring this back, and she stepped away.
She's like God.
Huh? Sprout is saying, here's my review of Maroon 5.
You don't want to read that.
They weren't marooned long enough to commit cannibalism on each other, and that's a shame. Wow, that photo reminds me of Weekend at Bernie's. That's not where I was going to go with it. But anyway, Geek Boy, give us your take on it.
So I'm gonna do this. I know you've had kind of some disruption over there, and I know you're over the moon about this album, but I'm gonna say this and give you some time to collect your thoughts, and maybe give some things to kind of bounce off of. So I am a Maroon 5 fan, and I say that unabashedly and unashamedly, because I have reached the point in my life where I've kind of found a balance between my serious musicians, like Eric Clapton and Prince and people like that, and things like Maroon 5 and JT, things that I've come to grips with, basically not looking down my nose at commercial artists, and the fact that, as we have said here many times, it's cool to like shit, and there's no hate for stuff that people like on our channel, on our broadcast. If you like something that I can't stand, I'm just glad you freaking like it. I may not like it, but that's okay.
And we're all friends here, and it doesn't matter if we kind of jab at each other like Sprout was doing and stuff like that. I know
we give each other all kinds of hell, and that's fine. But there's no animosity.
That's the word.
So I don't look down my nose at those types of artists. Anyway, to review this from a clinical, critical standpoint, and again, all a review is an opinion, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna slightly disagree with you respectfully and say that it fell short of my favorite Maroon 5 albums, which are Songs About Jane and Hands All Over. Those are my two favorites, and depending on what day of the week it is, I could tell you one's better than the other. But those are my two favorite Maroon 5 albums.
Songs About Jane and Hands All Over are John's two favorites.
Yeah, and I don't think it lived up to either one of those. So from a clinical, all things being equal review, that's my thoughts. However, we're not living in normal times. We are clawing our way back to normalcy. And I'm going to say, things are starting to open up. We're starting to kind of feel like our lives are becoming normal again. And I'm going to say the first chance I get to sit by a pool with a drink in my hand, this is the first freaking album I'm putting on. When those beats drop, because they use a lot of 808s and stuff on it. And my thought is, this is a perfect laying by the pool, drinking a drink album when everything is right with the world. So yeah, that being said, there was a lot of songs that I really liked. Some of them everybody's already heard, uh, memories and
Memories and
a few other things that are on there. So if I had one thing, it was like I'm worried that Maroon 5 is becoming too collaborative with other artists, and so it's like, hey, I really wish they would just kind of do their own thing like they did back on Songs About Jane and the another it won't be soon before long or whatever the other name is. So but again, I don't have really anything negative to say about the album other than it didn't live up to my two favorite releases from them. So that's all I have to say about that. So what do you guys have to say about that? Did the Queen hear that?
She did not. She did not. I've been kind of relaying information to her as she spoke and stuff.
Good.
But Goldar, do you have any comments about it? Have you listened to the album yet?
I played a little bit of it while I was cooking dinner the other night. I didn't get a chance to finish the whole thing. But just like, Geek Boy was saying, like I've kind of reached the stage as well where like, being a hipster about everything and saying like, nah, that music sucks because it's not stuff people haven't heard before. That's not cool anymore. Like nobody cares about that. Like, like just like what you like and
Yeah.
be cool with that. So I'm not particularly a Maroon 5 fan, but that's not to say that I don't like any of their music. I think they make a lot of great music. And I think there's something to be said for somebody that, a group that still makes really good songs that people listen to and want to listen to and get a lot of radio play, 15 years after they broke into the mainstream. Like that's a lot of staying power. So that's really impressive. The parts of the album that I heard, I did really, really like. I thought they were very catchy and melodic. So I think if I get the chance to sit down and listen to the full thing, I have a feeling that I'm going to enjoy it.
So, like I said, so I'm glad you guys' comments and everything like that, and I agree wholeheartedly with you guys that a band that's been in mainstream like this for 15 years, that's not a fluke. You've got great bands that have had great careers, and I think Maroon 5 is one of those type of great bands and stuff. Sproutkin's the original name was Burgundy 4.5. This guy's killing. Oh my God, Sprout always good for a good laugh. Yeah. But I will say, so I want to come to the artwork on the albums and stuff. And the reason I brought this up is I really thought this one, if I can get the page, the scene to load. I really thought it was interesting in the fact that for some reason it really reminded me of Prince's Paisley Park, or the one
Around the World in a Day.
Yes, Around the World in a Day. That just was just really kind of just this. I don't know, just kind of like when I say art, I mean it's almost like art. It's like you could almost see this hanging in a picture,
right?
Picture frame and stuff like that. And so that's one thing I've really kind of enjoyed about Maroon 5 is that when they put an album out, it seems like they consider the artwork to go along with the music and everything like that. I do agree in the sense that the last two albums that Maroon 5 has put out, they've brought in a lot of the artists to collaborate with on the songs with, and actually perform with. So I'd like to see them gonna get back to just being Maroon 5 and do that. So I'm gonna kind of got Rolling Stones pulled up here, and I'm just gonna finish the last paragraph of the article here. It says, in the end, what the album can use is a few more drink clicking splashes of summertime fun, but despite the usual army of A-list writers, producers, there isn't really anything here to rival the sticky, inescapable punch of sugar and moves like Jagger. A little more escape might have been welcome, but whether it's trying to be light, serious, or somewhat in the middle, Geordie can only get it done in half measures. Not probably the best review for the album in itself, but all I know is coming out of this pandemic, we didn't get a lot of new music and all that, and I'm just kind of happy with this new album and what we got music wise, and I've been really enjoying it. I mean, I pretty much listen to it to work and to home on a regular at this point. So
well, for some reason I'm getting some feedback here or something.
I didn't know if that's me or if that's somebody else.
Well, So here's the thing, and I've always said this about movies, and this is true about any form of entertainment, whether it's movies, books, albums, whatever. Art is, to a point, subjective. I believe that it can be objective on one level, but to a point, it's there is a subjective element to it, and all these things impact us at certain times in our lives. I mean, you think about everything that we consider to be classic or things that we love. We were at a certain time, we were at the right development, or we were going through something, or whatever, and we hear an album, or we see a movie, or we read a book, and it speaks to us for whatever reason. and and that's why people like stuff I don't, and why we all like certain things, and why some of us like things others don't, and that's why it's cool to like shit. Okay.
Exactly.
So because that means there's a form of love there, and love is the one thing that will never pass away.
Right.
So don't pass the offering plate or anything. But no, again, when I hear that review, I'm like, this guy's been locked away too long. I mean, my biggest thing, especially when Maroon 5 is not the first band to keep chasing past glory, and they darn sure won't be the last.
No.
But this was a serviceable album. It was, I mean, I would take mediocre Eric Clapton over a lot of things, and I got to say, unless your last name is Timberlake, Clapton, Prince Rogers Nelson, there's a lot of artists that would kill. I'm gonna kind of 8-point Goldar says there's a lot of artists that would kill to have Maroon 5's career.
Yeah.
Maybe U2 is probably one of the only bands that wouldn't kill to have Maroon 5's career. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yep.
So it's a fun. I thought it was a fun album. Based on their other albums, I would give it 3.5 stars.
Out of how many?
Do what?
Out of 5?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Just want to make sure our scale is that you say you gave it 3.5 stars out of 5 out of 10.
Right.
Definitely has a relevance.
No, yeah, I wouldn't. No. God.
So anyway, Sprout came back in. I always know when Geek Boy reads my comments because he almost does a spit take while someone else is talking.
Yep.
He tries so hard not to crack.
Yep, that's right. He is
right.
100% right.
That's so. So, like we've always said, he's got a voice for radio and a face for. Oh no, I'm sorry. He's got a face for TV and a voice for radio.
No, I have a voice for TV and a face for radio.
Whatever. I need to write that shit down. Man. I gotta write that shit down and make sure I get it right.
I know. So moving on to trying.
Well, that's that's the end of this music corner. So I'm gonna challenge Goldar for next week.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna challenge you to choose either a new released album, an album that's spoken to you in the past, and just kind of do what we just did tonight. Bring it up, see what talk about it. What was so impressive to you, and let's just have a good old fashioned music corner talk about it.
All right.
I'm
awesome. Down for that.
Yeah, cool. Just share it with us so we all have an opportunity to listen to it before the show.
Exactly.
Okay.
I can do this all month long, dude.
I know you can. So Sprout just came out. Who's doing IT Geeks cue cards? That would be a good old friend of mine called Crown and Coke. And so he keeps jumbling the cards.
I've got vodka. I've got vodka and something. I don't know what else it is.
I should correct that. Actually, it's just plain Crown Royale, not Crown and Coke. So
Gotcha.
Trying to watch the figure.
You cut the Coke out, yeah.
Cut the Coke out and went straight Crown.
Goldar, are you not drinking tonight?
Yeah, I'm drinking Kentucky Delight in the plastic bottle.
Oh, all right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, buddy. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep. I'm gonna clean off my furniture and finish it after this.
Oh man! All right.
You can't get this on Nerdrotic. You can't get this with Doomcock. Hell no.
No. You can only get here at Fanboys 918.
Yeah, they do way better reporting than we do, but that's okay. Okay, so the next topic I want to bring up, and speaking of not trying to crack and not trying to keep in celebratory, we had a teaser trailer for season 2 of Picard, Jake Picard, drop today. That's the 25% different Picard than what we come to know. I tell you what, Reverend, do you have that queued up?
I am ready whenever you are,
Why
sir.
don't we just go ahead and air that, and then we'll talk about this when we come back. I'm gonna mute up.
Laris? Laris? Laris! What the hell is happening here?
Excellent question, Jean-Luc. Oh dear, you're a bit older than I imagined. Mon capitaine, how I've missed you.
Q.
Welcome, my friend, to the very end of the road not taken.
Time has been broken.
We can save the future, and I will get us home together.
All right, and we're back. So that is Picard season 2 trailer. Geek Boy, I believe you have some feels about this trailer.
You know, I don't know what to think about this, honestly. I mean, other than Star Trek is broken, it's been broken for a while. I wish I could be more excited about this. I know that the Roost Star is really excited about it. I know that the Wonder Midget's really excited about it. But you've suckered me in too much, modern Star Trek. You know, they're bringing back Q. I mean, everything that they're doing reeks of a show in desperation. You know, like stunt casting, for lack of a better term, which is bringing Q back. You know, I mean, I want to throw this out for everyone's consideration. Q, time travel, a messed up timeline, which is what we got from the trailer. Romulans, which is what we got last year. The Borg, which we got last season. These are all sort of quote unquote fan favorites. But they are a small portion of the 700 plus hours of Star Trek that we have. Okay. And that's what made the time travel episodes or the mirror universe or all that when that's what made them special, you know, is that we had it in context of the other 600 and some odd hours of Star Trek where they were going to a planet trying to save these people from dying, you know, or confronting things, you know, finding a planet and realizing, oh my gosh, you know, we're not as highly evolved as we thought we were, type things, you know. So they're going back to all these things that were special episodes and they're making them entire events, an entire series. And, you know, the producers of the show keep beating us over the head with this, and I wish they could just give us some good thought-provoking sci-fi. I mean, Star Trek has become its own trope, and it's soul-crushing to me. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, how can we make a bad show good? Oh, we'll bring Q back, you know, and my God, I think you mentioned this. Why is Q old?
Right. Since he's he's this creature that basically time doesn't matter to him. You know, so I'm just kind of curious, why are they making him old? Will they address it? Sprouts brought in a couple comments. Q is the retcon of Star Trek that is sorely needed! Exclamation point. Looks like he is serious here. Yeah. Some of the most intriguing story arcs were Q based.
Now that's true. I will say this. So I will say that if they want to fix all this stuff, Q's the key to doing it, because we have a broken
right. If they can do it right.
Yeah, but my thing is the timeline's broken. No shit, the timeline's been broken since 2009 when they handed Star Trek over to people who don't know You have Star Trek for people that don't like Star Trek being made by people that don't like Star Trek, and they're fucking making me not like Star Trek with the way they're going. So
do we need to let you do your resume right here for how to take over Star Trek? I mean, you can plug it right now.
Here's the thing. I think the first thing you do, and I know this is kind of a no-no in Hollywood, was the worst thing you can do is admit you're a fan of something. So when these people come out and say, well, I loved Star Trek as a kid, well, that means you didn't fucking like it, or else they wouldn't let you work on this. But, you know, my thing is, if you want to do long-form storytelling in Star Trek, there's a way to do it. And there's tons of novels and tons of things to mine and do it right. And why they won't bring in just a couple of people. I mean, I mean, I say I could do it, and that's in my arrogance, but there's a lot of industry professional people, Scott Mance, Robert Meyer Burnett, Mark Altman, that could come in there and say, okay, you have a good idea, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? You know, I don't like how they turned Star Trek into a science fantasy show, space magic, you know, time crystals, all this kind of Marvel movie bullshit. Nothing against the MCU, but Star Trek always tried to be science based, and now it's just nothing. It's just whatever the writers can think up. So I'm just that, yeah, Star Trek needs to have people that understand Star Trek and understand how to write good television. And part of me thinks, from some of the things I've read, that it's more of a executive producer level. Like, if you bring some, I guarantee you, from all the things I said, if they hired me, I'd last about 3 weeks in that room. Why can't we do that? Because that's not fucking Star Trek, and it's stupid. Well, that's not the way you run a meeting. So anyway, so I, Reverend.
All right, so now I don't think I've made it, any type of lightness out of it, but I enjoyed it more. I enjoyed the shows more than you have.
Yes.
So I take them for what they are. I mean, not that you don't have valid points and everything about the Star Trek. You're right. One of the great things about Star Trek, it's always been on a science level. I mean, yes, we've had, Q with his space magic and all that stuff, and there's never really been a, total description of why he's so omnipotent and powerful the way he is. And he was brought in. The Q character seemed to me he was always that way to kind of bring it. He was the Loki of Star Trek, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, we wouldn't have the Borg if it wasn't for Q.
Right.
If you think about it. So I'm interested to see him come back, but I don't like you said, I don't like them bringing back these really beloved characters from the previous shows without a true reason why to, other than just to pay tribute to fandoms and trying to get people to watch. Like, I've got to watch this. It's John Delancey. It's Q. I got to see what they're doing here. Instead, I'm like, man, that looks like a good storyline. I want to see that. And I'm like, oh, and it's a bonus that Q's involved in it. So I'm just kind of curious what they're going to do with it. I mean, of course, we're Star Trek fans, so we're gonna watch it.
I'm gonna hate watch this show for 13 freaking weeks, because I'm a Star Trek fan. Despite what they've done with it, I'm gonna love Star Trek till the day I die, unless they just find some reason to make me hate it. There's about 3 or 4 things they can do to make me hate it. I'm not going to air those because we all know Paramount's listening. But well, my thing is like, I always took Q's magic, if you will, is the fact that the Q were so evolved. They were on a different dimensional plane than we were. Where it was from a quantum level, but everything on modern Star Trek is magic. I mean, we have magic mushrooms that can teleport a ship from one side of the galaxy to the other. We have magic time crystals that only seem to move forward, not backwards. We have, just, I don't know. And the fact that, sorry guys, I'm going to say this. And by the way, I'm going to reiterate something we said earlier. If you like these shows, by all means, like them with all your heart and love them, because it's cool to like shit. I personally don't. I came to the conclusion 4 seasons ago that I'm an old Star Trek fan, leaning out my window, shaking my fist at new Star Trek, telling it to get the hell off my lawn. Okay, but it just seems like all these characters suck. They're trying to turn Star Trek into this dystopian. They're trying to make Star Trek into the Hunger Games or whatever, and it's like, the Federation had their shit together. Not that they didn't make missteps. Not that there wasn't some crazy admiral or screwed up Commodore that always had some kind of plan that went awry and cost the lives of a lot of people. But overall, they tried to paint the vision that Starfleet and Earth and the Federation were basically the good guys. And my issue is with the JJ films, which, by the way, I like all 3 of them to varying degrees. And all 4 seasons, or all 3 seasons of Discovery and the first season of Picard, the Federation is the big freaking problem. And I just, that's part of my issue is I want a future where we've gotten our shit together. That's how Gene Roddenberry built this thing, and where we learn about ourselves as we find planets that don't have their shit together. And unfortunately, they're trying to turn Star Trek into The Expanse, and that's not what it is. So I'm going to shut up and let you and Goldar talk.
Goldar, what kind of comments you got?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how Geek Boy feels about Star Trek. I kind of feel about DC Comics movies at this point, where I'm just like, oh, here we go. What are they going to show us this time? Like just some old bullshit that they're putting together.
Oh my God, dude, that is perfect.
yeah, and it's like you have like so much source material that you could just draw off of, like books and comic books that could make some interesting stories to bring to life for audiences that haven't read those things. No, instead they'll just make something up and then just slap it together. And it's usually like some brand new writer or director that's coming up that kind of knows what they're doing, kind of doesn't really know what they're doing. Because comic books, you truly have to be a fan and have read the material and really invested in the material to like make a decent film. But they get people that just like don't really know the stuff that well, just making things like kind of like Zack Snyder, which I'm going to say he did well with Justice League, but some of his thought processes on the way he handled characters was just very suspect. So
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So seeing how you feel about Star Trek, yeah, having random things show up, just like you were saying, like magic mushrooms and space crystals that are like, what is this? Like, now you just like, no, there's no science involved and you're just gonna make it up and just put it in there, because then anything could be happening in any episode. It's just random stuff, just to like, plot armor things that just show up to just kind of fill in the gaps. I will say, like, I haven't watched Star Trek in quite some time. Like, I grew up watching Deep Space Nine and The Next Generation, which and a little bit of Voyager as well. I tried to move on to which was the one that had Scott Bakula on it.
Oh, Enterprise.
Enterprise. I watched a few episodes here and there. It was okay, but after that, the only things I really watched were the J.J. Abrams films, which you can take a shot every time that there's like a lens flare, and you'll be destroyed by the end of every one of those movies.
Yeah.
So, but I enjoyed those films.
Yeah, they're entertaining.
But I haven't found myself really wanting to watch the new Star Trek show that's on CBS All Access. I will say Picard has kind of piqued my interest a little bit, just because it's really just a show based around nostalgia, is what it sounds like. They're really trying to ring those bells to get people that watched it years ago to get into it, and then try to tie in maybe some newer concepts that they introduced to what they were originally introduced as. And they're based on the description, just listening to both of you guys, it sounds like they're having middling success with it. And what they really need to do is just throw it all out, start from scratch, and say, okay, what have we not done at this point? Or what have we not really explored at this point that we could really flesh out? And how can we tie it into something else to make it more interesting? So yeah, looking at the trailer, it looks kind of interesting, because that was 7 of 9, right? That was in the trailer. Yeah, 7 of 9. And then Picard. I'm like, okay, those are two characters on two different shows. They're on the same show together. That might pique my interest a little bit, just based on what I've watched in the past. But there's not anything that I saw there that like grabbed me, that was just like, oh, I've never seen this in science fiction before. Right. They're just really trying to ding those nostalgia bells.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're definitely trying to ring the nostalgia bells. Now, if I will kind of throw a little back. So when we first heard of the concept of Star Trek: The Next Generation, the voices were very strong. Like, what are you trying to do to our Star Trek? People were so upset that the Star Trek was taken off the air and then came back in syndication. It found new following. I mean, it just grew into this huge fan base. And then when Star Trek: The Next Generation came out, before it even aired, I mean, I remember reading and hearing that it's not TOS, it's not the original series, it's not Kirk. Everybody was against it and stuff. But in the first season, it was rocky. We agreed on that. But it finally found its footing. But I think the reason why that one worked so well is that it told new stories about a new crew, but kept its space exploration. It continued the vision and the uh, thought and the value of what the old series was about and what Starfleet was about and what the United Federations of Planets was about. The new series, which with Discovery, I know now we're knowing the future and everything, but before it jumped to the future and everything, it was still kind of like, this isn't our Federation or anything like that. It's nothing we've ever seen. But with Picard and where the Discovery is now in its timeline, I think that's where they've kind of gotten off track. That for us dedicated, true Star Trek fans, that we love the space exploration. We understood the values of what the United Federation and Starfleet was all about, and we're just not getting that now. And I think that's what's really making us upset. I enjoy it just for the nostalgia. This nostalgia case of it is that I get to see some old characters I really enjoyed and everything. Not so much of a Discovery, just because I never saw those characters. But there are certain elements about it that I enjoy. I mean, Saru's a very interesting character about his race and all that. So that's kind of throws a little bit back to what I liked about Star Trek, is the idea of creating new races and how they were, how they came up and everything. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not as a big as a hater. And I don't even want to say a hater. I mean, as negative on the show as the Geek Boy is, but I understand his pains and frustrations and agree with them wholeheartedly. I just try to uh, enjoy it, and I keep hoping that maybe someday we get a writer in there that is basically a fan like the Geek Boy and myself and our other people of our crew, that go like, okay, guys, it's time to get back to real Star Trek.
Yeah. Well, and that being said, the showrunner this year, which notice we can't keep a showrunner for longer than a season on any of these shows. He has some pretty impressive credentials. He was I meant to write his name down, but I didn't. But he was responsible for the Sci-Fi Channel series of 12 Monkeys, and he's done. And he was Brandon Braga's assistant, and we know Brandon Braga worked on every Star Trek series from Next Gen all the way up through Enterprise. And he co-wrote Star Trek First Contact, which is the best of the Next Gen movies. I think everyone will agree with that. So, I have a lot of hope that there is some hope shining through the light there, and nothing else. It will help me watch this season with somewhat of an open mind. But I want to jump back to something that you said about, Next Gen. Yes, we were all skeptical. We were all kind of like, what's this all about, really? And I remember like the first thing I remember watching the Next Generation after I watched the trailers was, what's this going to be like? What's this all about? That opening shot of Encounter at Farpoint, when you see the Enterprise coming in from screen above, screen up, and it's just majestic and it looks just so amazing. I'm like, okay, well, they got the production values down,
Right.
and then we've got a crew that I guess kind of like the early seasons of Next Gen were kind of like some of the things I bitched about with Voyager, which is I loved all the characters. Even when the story wasn't the best or when they were making some missteps, I totally understood all these characters and where they were coming from, and I liked their interaction with each other. I liked the thing that kept me coming back every week was the show's potential and the characters themselves. Like it kind of reminded me of, and I hate to, forgive me, Star Trek, season 1 of Sequest. Like
Oh, wow.
you loved all these characters, but the show was kind of pedestrian. But then you get a really great episode, and you're like, oh my god, that's what this show should be doing every week. And you watch next week, and like, oh, we're back to the other ones that we did.
Yeah.
But so and it wasn't really until season 3 of Next Gen that the show really found its footing. But the characters had very clear values, and they were cut from a very clean cloth, and we knew all these things. And these people, these modern producers that are trying to bend and twist Star Trek into something that it's not, just grates all over me. I gave JJ a little bit of grace because I did find all 3 of those movies entertaining. I liked Into Darkness the least. I probably liked Beyond the most. But still, okay, it's fine, but you just let Star Trek be Star Trek. Don't try to make it Star Wars or anything else that it's not, and try to have some
Star
people
Trek
that
of the Ring.
yeah. Well, and you know what? There's a place for long form storytelling in Star Trek if it's done
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
The
I agree.
problem is like when Discovery was dropping, and they were dropping a week at a time, and you get a week to go, wait a minute, what the fuck? Really? I mean, like, what? You know, what? And the two best parts of Star Trek Discovery, one is Doug Jones as Saru,
Mm-hmm.
and the other part was Anson Mount's performance as Captain Pike in season 2. It's like, oh my God,
Oh yeah.
we actually have a Starfleet officer.
Yep.
That's what really drives me nuts about Discovery is I hate all of these people. I don't hate the cast. I hate everyone. There's not one of these characters I want to hang out with. That's
not
the
even
problem.
Killy. Not even Killy.
No, she'd drive me nuts for 20 freaking minutes. It's like, okay, you need to go somewhere else and talk to someone else. I mean,
Doesn't Brunches love Killy?
she does, and that's fine, but that's like you don't make every character on the freaking spectrum in your Star Trek story, okay?
Right.
I'm sorry. Every character is like, okay, you're the hateful trans gay person. It's like, you're the nice it's like everything, and I'm sorry, hopefully I don't get us struck on this, but it's like every character on this show is damaged, for lack of a better term. Okay, not I'm saying if you're trans you're damaged, but every character's there's nothing likable about these people. I don't want to hang out with any of them except Anson Mount's Captain Pike, probably because I'm
Which we're going to. We're going to get a chance.
Male man, okay, and that's I can hear the people now, but they, and I guess what really breaks my heart is they have an embarrassment of riches in this cast. They every success they had they owe from this cast's ability to deliver this crappy dialogue with some feeling, and it's like, wow, this cast is saving your ass. Like they've got Sonequa Martin Green headlining the show. By the way, directing, making the first officer or a secondary character as your point of view, I think that's a pretty cool idea. They've just done it terribly. They've done a terrible idea with doing that. I don't mind. I love the idea of a character like Tilly, but they overdo it and they just don't know when to pull back. So we're probably going to really have to edit this because I'm really being a lot of things.
This is all live, baby. There ain't no editing.
I know the Twitter mom's going to be coming after me pretty damn soon. So.
But I mean, so you bring up Anson, and so I don't know. Maybe we have some new hope with the whole
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds. Thank you. That is coming up there. So maybe we'll get back to the original series taste, and we'll get.
If we can just get some writing in there, that's all I care about. Get some writing. I mean, I've been tracking through a podcast that called Enterprise Incidents, and it's being hosted by Scott Mantz, who is a professional Hollywood insider. He's an entertainment reporter, and another gentleman who I'm not familiar with. And they are going in production order and dissecting the original series episodes. And they're like, oh yeah, it's fantastic. And I mean, it's like they'll take an hour episode and talk about it for 2 hours, much like Fanboys 918 can do. And but they'll say like, yeah, that's kind of problematic with today's sensibilities, but they're really digging into a lot of the things that are going on. Like, there was so much more thought put into these 1 hour, one shot episodes in 1967 than is going into Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard. I mean, it's like for these people, and I'm gonna kind of dovetail back into what Goldar said. Star Trek is a job for these people. Much like DC is a job for these people. It's like there's no love there. It's like, hey, I'm in Star Trek writing room. That's a great paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I've written Hawaii 5-0. I'm surely I can write Star Trek. No, not really. I mean, there's a certain voice that comes with Star Trek, and none of what I've seen. Every once in a while, all the shows will show inklings of it. Like of the 10 episodes of Star Trek Picard of season 1, I probably liked 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a 50% hit ratio, which is better than all I got for Discovery. It's terribly written. All these characters are damaged. You don't want to hang out with any of them. Most of the characters are unlikable, and so it's like, why would I want to watch this show?
Are we talking about Picard or are we talking about Discovery?
Both.
So let me ask you this: for each of those shows, do they basically reset like every episode, like the last episode never happened, or is
Oh
it like a
gosh, no.
continued
No,
plot?
no, it's a continued plot, but it's a dumb continued plot.
Mm.
It's like in Picard, they were harping on something that, and I'm talking about season 1 of Picard. They're harping on something that was settled in season 2 of Next Generation. Do synthetic life forms have rights? Well, Picard settled that in a courtroom with Data.
Right.
And then you have and of course that, I mean, again, there were a lot of and I guess what really aggravates me about all these shows is that the basic premise is sound. Like, you know what, this is a cool idea. You know what, this is a really cool idea, but this is how you're choosing to execute it. You know, I mean, so in season 1 of Picard, it picks up after the destruction of Romulus, which of course fed into the J.J. Abrams '09 movie, which, okay, I'm fine with that. And Picard had made it his mission to stop the destruction of Romulus, and he failed. You know, and as a result, a lot of bad things happen. Okay, that's a great idea. When you take someone who was a legend in the Federation, who commanded the Stargazer for 10 years, and then was in charge of the Enterprise D and the Enterprise E, and he's been so important to the galaxy. You know, I mean, what happens when basically a legendary figure becomes marginalized like that? Well, you know, that's great. That's you know, and this is how you're going to choose to explore it. White man bad. Okay, okay. That's we're going to do a tour around the galaxy apologizing for how much I sucked. You know, that's all you got.
Got to reset your story a little bit in
All
the
right,
sense
okay.
that it was Spock who was basically on the mission to save Romulus.
Well,
and failed. Picard, his storyline in Picard was that he was wanting to do this whole like Romulan refugee relocation act. You know, basically, you know, imagine basically taking a bunch of illegal aliens and moving them to worlds that didn't want them there. And and so basically Picard says like, either do this or I'm out the door. And Starfleet kind of stood their ground like, thank you for your service, and showed him the door. So that's kind of the one element I kind of enjoyed about this. It's like Picard kind of like thought he was more than what he really was. And if you've got a military background, I mean, like, yeah, you could have done a lot of great things for the Starfleet, and I mean, you got yourself out of it. But all in all, you're just still a military officer. So no matter what you've done, you still have orders. And if you think that you can come in and pretty much strong arm your way through things, yeah, you'll do some things, but eventually you're going to get pushback. And if you push too hard on one thing and then you make a threat, then I mean, all it is a threat. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, you're Picard, but you know, what about Captain Smith over here that's coming up just as it, he did this, he's done that lately. He is our new Picard that's being, coming up. I mean, we just haven't seen those episodes. So that's the kind of way I kind of see the shows, is that, yeah, we're seeing some of our favorite characters and they're kind of being knocked down some pegs. And you're right, it's a great concept that's not being executed well. But man, I'd love to see, I'd love to see them kind of grow out of that and see other elements of Starfleet that shows, hey, Picard wasn't just Starfleet. I mean, they've got other great captains like Riker. I mean, good Lord.
Oh my God, that's a great show waiting to happen.
I know. I mean,
Captain
the fact
Riker?
that, the fact that he was
Yeah.
able to come out of retirement, demand a fleet. I mean, right there, I mean, that tells me more that he has more pull than Picard did.
I know, and this makes no damn sense. I'm like, well, the other thing is we're gonna build this fleet, and like, if I was Picard, I'd be like, why are the Romulans needing Starfleet to rescue? They have a whole damn fleet. Where's their fleet at? By the way, they showed up. Their fleet showed up at the end. The show makes no damn sense. It's like, if you track through it, they need someone, and again, just like Goldar with DC, you need someone in the writer's room to raise your hand and go, have you thought about this? Why, and it's the whole thing. If this is true in Act 3, then why isn't this true in Act 1? I don't know. I guess that's the thing with modern Star Trek. I don't believe it. I just don't believe any of it. And as Gene Roddenberry said, in the writer's Bible of both Star Trek, the original series, and Star Trek, the Next Generation, If I wouldn't believe it on the bridge of the battleship Missouri, I won't believe it on the bridge of the USS Enterprise. Words to live by. Modern
With-
Star Trek.
With that, I think we need to move on to our next topic, something a little more jovial.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So before we go into our final topic, this one is kind of more, I think, Goldar and my wheelhouse. I know you're not much of a gamer and
No,
everything.
go right
but-
ahead. Go
and-
ahead.
and-
No,
and-
go
and,
ahead. I've talked
Goldar-
enough.
So Goldar, I don't know if you've heard. I know we talked a little bit before the show and brought it up in our comments, but there's a new potential game coming out, and that is called Avatar Frontier. Trying to get Frontiers of Pandora. And have you watched the trailer at all for this game yet, Goldar?
I haven't gotten a chance to see the game, the trailer for the game just yet.
Well, guess what, friends? We have it here right here tonight. So yeah,
I knew we would.
So let's cue that up real quick, and then Goldar, let's come back and talk a little bit about it. Sound good? Goldar? Did I lose Goldar? Geek boy?
I'm here. Yes.
Goldar, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought I lost everybody. I was like, oh no. All right. So all right, everybody mute up, and we'll go.
All right, here
we'll
we
watch
go.
the trailer.
All right.
All right, and we're back and everything. So stunningly, the graphically, the game looks stunning. I'm just kind of I was talking with my son about this. He's actually the one that brought it to my attention, and it looks really cool. It's got a great concept idea. I'm just kind of I don't know if they're going to be able to deliver on it. So Goldar, I mean, from just seeing the video and everything, what are your hopes and possibly fears about this? Are you even potentially even interested in seeing it coming out?
Yeah, I'd like to see it come out. I mean, be the first thing to come out of Avatar since that first movie. we kept promising us these sequels, and we're like, oh, okay, where are they at?
I know, it's crazy, but I mean, So it almost kind of looks like that you can maybe even choose the sides that you can be on, whether you're, the human race on Pandora, or you're the other race. I don't know. Some of the fears that I've heard about it, that they think it's going to be Ubisoft. They did the what other games did they did? I'm pulling a blank on some of the other games they've done. Is
They've done a lot.
They've done a lot, but I mean, there's one game. Did they do Assassin's Creed? That did they do
Ye-
Ubisoft did that?
Yeah, they do Assassin's Creed.
So a lot. So the initial fears is that this is going to be kind of like a lot of the Assassin's Creed's kind of repetitive, type of stuff, the falls and all that. And so I don't know. I don't know. It looks really interesting. I don't know. I think I'm going to need to hear more and see more of it before I decide to actually buy it or and play it. But like you said, it's the first something. It looks like we'll probably get this before we get any more Avatar sequels. That's for damn sure. So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I'm just kind of scared that it might fall victim to the typical cycle of game movies to games,
mhm,
because we had like a good probably almost 2 solid decades of just bad
yeah.
games that they transferred over from movies. Like the Incredible Hulk game was terrible.
Superman
And
game
I'm
was
and I'm
horrible.
oh man,
That was
yes.
horrible. Oh my god.
Superman game was bad. We had several X-Men games that were
Hmm.
bad.
Yep.
I think the Iron Man game was bad
Oh
too.
yeah,
It just
it
like
was horrible.
several Spider-Man games that were get bad, and I'm like, who
Yep.
is making these things? Like,
Right.
um, but and they weren't even. It was crazy because it was like when an independent studio would take one of these properties and then make a game just out of nowhere, just completely nowhere. The game was fantastic, but then if it came out around the time of the movie, they rushed it to just
Yeah.
get it out there. So I'm kind of
Exactly.
concerned because looking at IMDb right now, I'm seeing that Avatar 2 is in post production for 2022. So and this game comes out in 2022. So I'm kind of worried that this is going to be another movie to game adaptation.
I know.
Uh, so it could go either way. It's gotten to the point where I feel like they've thinned the herd so much at this point in game development that it costs so much money and so much time to make games on these new consoles. They can't afford to make some old trash and try
Right.
to sell that.
Yep.
So I think it'll probably at least be halfway decent. It may not be the best game in the world, but it'll be halfway decent.
Right.
Um, I'm just curious to see a little bit more from it. So
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just kind of curious, and I think a lot of fans will be when it comes to this game. Is like, does the tail on your head, does it really become a relevant part of a tool with interacting with a lot of things on the planet? Because I think if you remember, I mean, a lot of them had to entangle that with when they were riding their steeds and everything, and talking with the plants and stuff. So I'm just kind of curious how much of an element that would be in the way you interact with the environment and stuff, which I think could lead to a lot of really kind of cool effects and stuff, and potentially of like, there used to be an old Sega Genesis game they called the Shadowrun, based on a role playing game and books and stuff. And you could jack into these computers, and you could they had these simulations where you could beef up your computer, and you could go in and hack stronger systems to be able to get money and cash and resources added to your character and stuff. It was a really kind of a cool concept idea, and I haven't seen a game do something like that in a long time. That it was that kind of really forward thinking. I think this game, if they were forward thinking, will capitalize on that, and you get to see some really cool stuff where maybe you go to the what was the Tree of Life and basically sync up with it, and then maybe it takes you away, and that it allows you to have this communication with ancestors and all that stuff that I think could be a really kind of fun element to the game. So I think it's got a lot of potential, but you're right. I think we need to see a lot more of it, and before I think anyone's really going to be super hyped about it.
yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. If if they just even borrow some concepts from recent games, like like if you have to make your own weapons, like they did in The Last of Us, that could be kind of cool, where you have to craft your own arrows and things. Whenever you're hunting humans or fighting back against humans.
Yep.
The Legend of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild, the latest of Zelda game, there was a point where you kind of had to train a horse a little bit to get them to trust you. That would be cool if you had to kind of train some of these animals that you're riding or flying on, for them to be something that you can use for transportation. Yep. If they can borrow some of those kind of elements and make it more of an immersive game. And then, the tough part, though, I think with this, because I think the gameplay will probably be relatively easy, because there's a lot of different games that they can kind of borrow from a little bit to kind of build on that to make it cool. But the tough part is going to be the story, because we've already seen the first Avatar. So now it's going to be like, is this a continuation of the first movie, or is it a retelling of the first movie, or are we getting a different perspective of what was going on that was adjacent to the first movie? Because based on
great point. That's what I was kind of curious about. I was like, where does this fall in that timeline of the first movie? I want to say,
not being a gamer, that's what I was wondering watching the trailer. I'm like, Avatar is kind of its own self-contained thing. I mean, I'm skeptical about the sequels we're going to get, but yeah, that's just watching the trailer. That was my thoughts: is where are we in the timeline?
Well, I mean, as we know from the first movie, it looks like they've been on Pandora for quite some time and stuff. So I can only assume this is actually, a prequel to the Avatar movie. That's the only way I can see it working, in my personal opinion. But anyway, Goldar, you had, sound like you had some other additional comments.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So it sounded like, based on just what they showed in the trailer, it was kind of a rehash of what we already kind of knew about the first movie. Humans were just basically trying to dances with wolves their way through this.
That's a great comment. I like that.
Or Fern Gully their way through this.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Fern Gully.
Yeah,
Fern Gully. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, they were trying to do that. So. So what you were saying, it sounds like it's a prequel. That's probably the most logical place that they could go with this. That people who are going to play the game are not going to be like, okay, I've already done this before. I've watched this before. Like, what are you going to show me that's new? And then they can't spoil anything that happens in the next movies. So they really can't show us anything new yet. So it sounds like this is going to be like a prequel that kind of adjacent to the original story.
Which also kind of I think, being a prequel may kind of steal some of the fun that where you actually could transfer your consciousness to a Pandorian body, if you're a human, and kind of do that was what was kind of really intriguing, I thought, about the Avatar movie, is that of the way that they would Fern Gully their way into their society as opposes them. That could be another great element of this game. But I think to do that, I mean, it doesn't really add anything kind of cool and new concept idea to it. So I don't know. I think my personal opinion is that you get to choose your path of whether you want to be on the human side or the Pandorian side, and basically follow that story. But so I really hope they bring some really cool concept ideas to the gameplay. It's not a rehash of just what we've already seen, but of course, I'm quite sure they don't want to they don't have the rights to give away too much stuff that's already going to come in the sequels of the other movie. Because I mean, from what I understand, in the sequels, a lot of the next movies are going to be, or at least the next movie is going to be under a lot of water elements and stuff. So, which we never got to see any of that in that trailer, but doesn't mean it's not available. So. I don't know.
Yeah,
looks interesting, looks intriguing, but I wait to see more.
Yeah, you made a good point there that the humans turned into the Navis at some point, and I think that could be an interesting element to the game, where you start off as a human and then you have the choice to become a Navi, and you can either join them or you could be what do you call it? A double agent or an insurgent or something like that. And you could betray them and then join the humans again and then take everything over, or you could join them and then beat the humans back. at that point, just depending on almost kind of like a what was it, Fable, that game where you could choose to become either a villain or a hero at any point during the game, just based on your choices.
Yep.
Well, so,
Red Dead Redemption did something like that, where you that kind of stuff, or even Star Wars Unleashed, where you could follow the light side of the dark side.
Oh yeah,
a lot of games
have
done that stuff. So a lot of those elements there, I think, would be a lot of fun, where your choices, can lead to the development of the storyline. So it allows you to have kind of more than one way to play the game. In a lot of the games that I've played currently, it's like you're on one path, and basically it's your start to finish. You're this character and stuff. Or basically you got free roam. It doesn't matter what you do. I'd love a game to come out where basically I play the whole game one way, and then I can go back, start over, and then just choose a totally different path and get a whole different storyline. So I kind of miss that about some of the games that I used to play in the past that I haven't found today.
Okay, so I'm gonna chime in here real quick as someone who's not an avid gamer, not as much as the two of you are, but I'm watching this and again, bless my heart, we try to be celebratory here, but I'm watching this thing going, how much of this game is the marketing budget for the Avatar sequels? Because that's one movie that when it came out, it was a huge splash. It was a huge, it really captured the zeitgeist of the time. I mean, heck, it made $2 billion worldwide. It was 3D. It was but
billion with a B.
Yes, but since then, I've not laid awake in bed and I go, man, I can't wait for another Avatar movie. It's like, I mean,
you're
seriously,
correct.
I mean, it's like, I don't know anyone that's like, man, I just can't wait for another Avatar movie. It's like, really? It's like, it seemed like it was very much of a
Avatar
time.
movies over there.
Yeah. I mean, it was very much of a time and of a piece. And I just don't see the demand for more Avatar movies. I mean, I don't see where the story could go. I don't know. Just like Fern Gully and Dances with Wolves. How do you do a sequel of those? Well, you don't, because that wasn't what they were. The stories weren't designed to be that. They weren't designed to be a franchise. And I just don't know how much. I don't know how well the game is. I wonder if the games. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I wonder how the game's sales will foreshadow what the future for the Avatar franchise looks like in the movie theaters.
Yeah, and that kind of that's where I was really thinking that this game is just basically to kind of reintroduce Avatar to the public, because it's been gone for a decade before the movie tries to come out next year.
Tries to come out.
Well, I mean, they could push it back. You never, but it says on IMDb it's in post production. So it just like you were saying, there hasn't really been a demand for Avatar. Only because they were like, okay, well, the next Avatar movie is going to be this as soon as the first one came out. And they were like, okay, cool. And then we waited, and then 2 years later, we were like, and then we waited another 4 years, and we were like,
another 4 years.
And then we waited another several years, and then we're just like, I guess it's not coming out.
Yeah.
But it still has a timeline, and then James Cameron's out there still promising it. Which, side note, it's like, how does this man make so much money? Like, it's been 10 years since he made a movie.
I know.
It's been 10 years since he really did a whole lot of things. So I'm kind of like, what money? How much money did you make off of Terminator 2?
He made a lot.
He made a lot.
He made a lot. I think Cameron secretly, I think part of his contract is he owns a piece of everything that he dips his toes into. Yeah.
I think you're correct, because now that I think about that, there was a story a few years ago that came out about the rights about Terminator or something like that, and that he was involved in. So I think he owns a slice of that. So he must be getting some passive income off of their attempts to make
some of that Terminator cheddar.
Yeah. Right. Which, speaking of which, oh man, they really need to do a good one of those.
I think they just need to let that thing go. We have Terminator. We had two perfect Terminator movies just quit. You know, just like Alien and Aliens.
Well, how many times is this the Terminator gonna kill itself for the end for it to save the future? You know,
man, it's like let's subvert expectations and not do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Let's subvert expectations and have a good Terminator movie. How about that? At this point, I mean, when you think about it, Aliens and Terminator are franchises that have more fucking bad movies than they do good ones. Why are these things still going? Son of a bitch. Just like the Predator movies. Screw you guys. You're making me hate my stuff I love.
That's true.
That's it. We need a Predator versus the Alien versus the Terminator.
And whoever survives gets the next movie.
On Pandora. On Pandora. With Star Trek Picard at the helm of the Discovery, flying in and bombing the shit out of the planet.
And the Jedi are fighting them all.
And it's the last Jedi. Ghost Jedi Skywalker walked around going, bitch, please.
Well, and the ghosts are having trouble because the Ghostbusters are there trying to box them up.
Now, hey man, I do like the trailer for Ghostbusters, the new Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the hell out of that.
Yeah, me too.
So, but with that, I think we should jump into our final segment. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know what I found?
What?
I found the trailer for this, for the show.
Okay, drop it.
So we're gonna have to drop it. So
okay, I'm gonna mute up.
everybody, hang on, I'm gonna have to go in and change the sound because I was gonna play it through our talk.
Oh, okay.
But
We can do that if you want to.
let's just do that. Let's do that. So as we well, Gold or Geek Boy wants you to lead it all in.
All right.
You're good at
So if this is what I think it is, are we talking about something that's celebrating an anniversary right now?
You are 100% correct. Oh, I'm sorry. You were 25 years correct.
That's right. That's right, folks. This month, yes, this month, and we try to be. God bless my heart. We try to be a celebratory group, and this month, I don't think we can let this pass. We have a movie that is celebrating its 25th anniversary, and that is the triumph of Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage, Ed Harris, and Michael Bay all in one setting, and that is The Rock turns 25 years old this month. And
it still works on the big screen.
Oh,
that movie is phenomenal.
This movie works. I bought the high def version on iTunes because all I had was my Criterion Blu-ray, or excuse me, DVD back here. And yes, Michael Bay has a Criterion disc edition. That's right, folks. All you artsy fartsy people can suck it. Bad Boys may have put Michael Bay on the map, but this is the film that made his career, for good or ill. And I think it is probably the best film of his career. It's being one of the best of the three stars. I think it's one of Ed Harris's best movies. I think it's one of Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery's best movies. And it's just a phenomenal freaking film. It is the best shot film that Michael Bay has ever done. This movie is 25 years old, and I'm gonna toss it back to you, Reverend. It still freaking works.
Oh man, this movie is so great. And so, we were talking about this movie being its 25-year anniversary, but my middle son actually
go ahead.
Great post on Reddit where someone has proven that The Rock is a James Bond movie. That's right. John Mason is James Bond.
Yeah.
And so there's this Reddit article, and I've got it pulled up here. Let me see if I can find the guy's name. So it's by it says it's posted by You Apprehensive Test 26. And he says The Rock came out 25 years ago. I've proven once and for all that is the James Bond movie. And basically he says, he's like, if you'd rather watch a video than read a 3,000 word essay on Reddit, then you can go here and watch his video of it. So, but I mean, dude, I read this thing and I'm like, holy hell, he has done it. He has proven that The Rock is actually a James Bond movie. So, with that, so throw some questions out, guys. Throw some questions about The Rock out that make you say, prove to me, Reverend IT Geek, that this is is a James Bond movie.
Okay,
What do you got?
well, I'll go first if you don't mind, since I love
No.
this movie so much.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I've had similar things percolate, but timeline wise, prove to me by the timeline, because there's a couple of glitches in the Rock's timeline if he is James Bond. So timeline, because Doctor No takes place in 1962, I believe. So he's obviously walking around, and then we do know that in From Russia with Love, it's been 6 months since Doctor No, and then he just, Connery's Bond has all these other adventures. So prove to me how all this works.
Man, it's like you must have read this article, because that's like the very first one he addressed this and everything. So let me find it here real quick and get down to it. I mean, it's a very lengthy thing. So let's see here. So here it is. So all right. So almost since the movie came out, there's been a speculation that Sean Connery's John Mason's back James Bond. The surface level. This is usually based on some surface level lines about the fact that Mason was trained by British intelligence. He's former SAS operative. He was captured in 1962, the same year first Bond movie Doctor No was released. And so the fan theory usually says that Bond's escapes from Alcatraz happened before Doctor No. Then we see him again on all his new adventures in the 6 Bond films after. But this narrative isn't consistent with the Connery Bond film. And this is often used as evidence for theory as fun idea, but not supported by continuity. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is 100%. So let's get in there. So basically,
hey, Reverend,
yeah.
Before we go any further, Lori Vanpool is trying to get on the page and she can't find us. Can you?
What do you mean she can't find us?
She's like, "Are you guys going to be on tonight?" And I said, "Yeah, we're on right now." She goes, "Well, the page says soon." And she's tried to hit the link. It says the page that you got, the page you're requesting is not found. I'm watching it.
She should be able to go to our Fanboys 918 page in itself, and
that's what I said. And she's like, I'm trying to do that, and it says not found. So, and I'm watching us live.
So am I. So,
yeah, I'm able to see us as well.
I'm gonna tell her to log out and log back in.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go finish typing that up. So I'm trying to find it here. Hang on a second.
Sorry.
That's all right.
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get off and get back on and see what I see. Oh, there we are. So, I'm sorry. So where were we again? This is the fun part of the show.
Yep.
You were talking about the timeline.
Yep. All right. So, trying to find there's one element that basically, in Doctor No, it shows that he is walking around the island. And I'm trying to find it in his thing because it's a really great specific information about that.
Well, and while you're doing that, one of the continuity glitches that I caught in The Rock was, he said he escaped in '63, but the microfilm he stole had information about the JFK assassination, which of course didn't occur until after he had already quote unquote escaped. But there are a lot of things, while you're looking this up, that lead us to think that he is James Bond. Like when he's getting his weekend pass or his 2-hour pass, he's like, "I want a shower, a shave, and the feel of a shoot." Well, that's something James Bond would say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. You find it?
Yeah. So
okay, go ahead.
Do the timelines match up? In The Rock, we learned that Mason was incarcerated in Alcatraz in 1962, escaped in '63. So 62 is where we start. The same year Doctor No came out. Now, as I said earlier, the fan theory usually goes that Bond was first captured before the events of Doctor No, which assumes that Doctor No was set in '63 after he escaped, but that doesn't work. So basically, Doctor No is definitely set in 1962 or earlier, because in Jamaica he visits the government house. the seat of the British governor, which is
Right.
flying the British flag, which he has a clipping show. Jamaica became independent in August of 1962. So there's no way Dr. No can take place in 1963 because of a point that the British no longer had control of it. So what happens at the end of Dr. No, you realize basically he's sailing away, and basically Leiter comes up in the boat and finds him, and basically he releases the mooring so that he can sail off and everything. Well, he get some honey, exactly. So there is speculation that when he released the mooring and floated away to have his time, there were other Coast Guards in the area collecting all the other villains from Dr. No's sinking lab,
Right.
and he got rounded up as a one of those rescues of Dr. No's villainy empire. So when he got picked up, he was posed as John Mason as one of his undercovers. He would have been reported to Leiter as being in there or anything like that, and so that's how he became incarcerated after Dr. No. That's what he speculates. So that's how he thinks up the timeline in that fashion.
Okay, that works.
So now, so basically, about, let me come back in here and find this one. So this was cool one. So here's the one about Womack, why he has such a problem.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. So.
Yes. So apparently, where is it at? So it says the Rock established that Mason was recaptured sometime after he escaped in 1963, but it never makes clear what this happened. The closest thing we have to date on that is Mason's daughter Jade. When Womack was asked why the Hoover didn't use Jade as leverage on Mason to reveal location, the Stone Mine, he says Hoover was dead in 1972. She wasn't born yet.
Right.
But where is it at? So they're saying that basically in his hypothesis, I can't find it in there, and not to take too much time, but through my reading, what it is that during that time so during that
he
time,
was incarcerated, he escaped,
and that explains the 6 month absence when he shows up in the next Bond movie. Is where have you been for the last 6 months?
Yeah.
So you got that. Well, so at the time that he comes encounter with Womack, basically the governments between the Americas and the British are unstable, and so they know they have an agent that's on U.S. soil, and so they assign him to break into the FBI to basically collect all this dirt that the Americans have collected on the government, and that's where the microfilm comes into.
Okay.
And the way he gets into it, he uses his friendship with Womack to break into the FBI. So that's why
that's a great movie. I want to see.
Oh
this
yeah.
movie.
So I'm like, holy hell! I mean, I'm loving this. So I mean,
we got to cast Michael Fassbender as a young.
Oh man, that would be
John Mason.
Yes.
Or wouldn't it be great if it was Daniel Craig? That would be even better.
That would. So yeah, I mean, so the article, I mean, it goes on and I mean explains it very well how he believes this could be a James Bond movie. And I tell you, man, we've always talked about, man, this has got to be a James Bond movie. I mean, I know he's not the lead character, Nick Cage is, but I mean, you know, Sean Connery, like he does in any film, he just steals the freaking movie.
Oh yeah.
And it just goes to show that other people out there are thinking like us, that this was truly a James Bond movie, and if anyone's done it yet, I think this guy right here with this article does.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What are you guys?
Goldar? Are you a fan of The Rock?
Yeah, I actually rewatched
the movie,
it.
not the
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I had to.
No, yeah, I rewatched it probably a few years ago, and I hadn't really seen it since like the late '90s, early 2000s. I remember like growing up as a kid, my friend was like obsessed with that movie. We were like 11, 12 years old at the time. And I remember thinking the movie was pretty great. Like it was shot really well.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
It was really, really fun to watch. At the time, Nicolas Cage was a great actor.
At the time.
At the time.
At the time. And Sean Connery had always had that reputation of being, an excellent actor as well, and being James Bond. So it was a really fun movie. I enjoyed watching it. I totally forgot it was, that it came out that 25 years ago. So that's one that I need to circle back around and watch again, especially with it being, I feel like, Michael Bay's early work was probably his best work.
Yes.
So as soon as we got to Transformers, that's when it kind of just went really sharply downhill.
Yes.
But his first Transformers, I'll defend him on that one. I enjoyed
I
the
will
hell
too.
out of it. But after that first Transformers, it not until Bumblebee did basically it ever kind of start that curve back up.
Right.
Yeah. Which is funny because that one wasn't even his film.
Exactly. I was just
So-
giving trivia. I was giving props to Transformer movie in itself. But yeah, the first Transformer movie is great. All of them just went straight down, and then basically, they had to bring someone else new to bring it back in with Bumblebee, and that was just a saving grace.
Well, the Age of Extinction was horrible. Oh, that was terrible. But kind of circle back to the Goldar. Yeah, Michael Bay had something to prove in Bad Boys. He had to prove that. But then The Rock, the training wheels were kind of off, for lack of a better term, and that there is not a wasted frame of film in that. Every shot is beautiful. I went back and rewatched it just because it's the freaking Rock, and I mean it is my favorite Michael Bay film. It is his best film, probably due to the fact that he's got this fantastic cast, and even though he is so in the zone on this, but he also has a very powerful producer in the form of Jerry Bruckheimer looking over his shoulder, not letting him indulge in some of his more lesser tendencies, if you will. Because part of the problem with the Transformer movies and even Armageddon is they're over edited. It's like he got so aggressive on the editing you can't even tell what's going on. And there's one point in The Rock where I think it's during the car chase that the geography doesn't kind of line up, but everything else in this movie is freaking beautiful. Every set is, he found the best angle in every set to shoot it. He's got Nick Cage giving the best performance of his career. He's got Sean Connery giving a great performance. And my thing is one of the things that made this movie stand out, one of the many things, apart from Michael Bay's great, framing of his shots, apart from Sean Connery, apart from Nicolas Cage, Ed Harris, who gives a great, his character has an arc. He's not just this. I mean, he is probably one of the greatest screen villains of all time that always gets overlooked. I mean, he is not a mustache twirling villain. He has got a legitimate gripe that you can totally understand. And he's got so much nuance because, he's really running a bluff through the whole movie. The problem is he's hired a bunch of guys that aren't. And you got Tony Todd, dude, you stood up to Tony Todd. My hat's off to you. Want my effing money, sir. Oh, wow. Oh, Lori Van Poole just can't get on. Facebook is not letting her on, so she said tell everyone she said hi. So thank you, Lori. I'm crushed that you can't get on.
We could probably add her in the comments.
Yeah, I think so. Because I even sent her the link to get on, and she still couldn't get on. So I don't know what's going on there. That's
Dwayne just joined us as well.
All right. Hello there.
What's up, man?
Narwhal. So yeah.
Hope you're feeling better.
I will go to the wall saying that The Rock is Michael Bay's best movie for all the reasons I said. If I have one thing, and here's the thing: for as the script is tight, it's very tight. It's like 2 hours and 14 minutes, especially for the number of side quests that this movie seems to go on. But it has everything Michael Bay does well, which is every character, not just counting our main three, but even some of the ancillary, like Womack, like Paxton, the FBI director, like Sean Connery's daughter, like even the streetcar conductor. Who these characters are immediately, and that comes from Michael Bay's career in commercials. But again, when you have someone like Jerry Bruckheimer looking over your shoulder going, you're not going to do that, but you can do this, I think there were things in Michael Bay's later work when he just started cashing a paycheck, a la all the other Transformer movies, that we saw that affect his work. I still stand by 13 Hours. I think it's a fantastic movie, and it shows to me what a great movie he can make when he really cares. I enjoyed Six Underground. I thought it was a great movie.
Oh yeah, I love Six Underground. That was an awesome movie.
But you compare that to like the third Transformers movie, you're like, how's this even the same guy? I mean, but you know, again with The Rock, it may go back to the old thing if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage, you know, but because I don't think Bad Boys 2 is as good as Bad Boys, as much as I enjoy Bad Boys 2. But yeah, I think The Rock is an amazing film. I will go to, you know, the mat defending this movie. There's not a wasted frame of film in it. The screenplay is pitch perfect. We know that there was a lot of dialogue polish done by I believe David Mamet, who is one of Sean Connery's buddies. But you know, there's so many, going back to the thing we were talking about, there's so many things that wink at you like you're watching Sean Connery's last Bond movie. We talked about all the timeline stuff that you talked about. We talked about when I want to shower, a shave, and the feel of a suit. You know, the scuba sequence when they're riding. That is Thunderball, man. That is balls, and you know, and the fact that he says he was trained by British intelligence, and he goes through all this stuff, and it's just, and just his whole attitude. This movie is fantastic. If there's anyone out there watching who hasn't seen this movie, I can't imagine that you haven't. This is the movie that made me want to be a screenwriter. Yeah. Truth be told, I wanted to write this movie, and I haven't even begun to talk about Hans Zimmer's amazing score.
Right.
Oh my God, this is some of Hans Zimmer's best work. This is when he was riding that crest of Drop Zone, which was a terrible movie. Crimson Tide, which is a great movie. The Rock, which is a great movie. Rain Man. He's got all these different things on his resume, and this is when Hans became the go-to screen composer for these types of films. I think he got a little burnout on him, but still, it's a great score. I'll watch the movie just to listen to the score. You know, Michael Biehn, this is his best performance since Aliens, for God's sake. This is a great movie, you know. And you've got all these other people. I gush over this movie. I can't even talk about it. I gush over it so damn much.
I know.
Go ahead.
That's what I was just gonna say, that you know, when we, like I said, when we were talking about this, the 25th anniversary and everything, it was just like it just so many memories flood back into our mind about watching it, and you know, and they come flooding back so quickly. It's like you can't talk about it fast enough to get them all out and everything. You know, I think what's kind of been true to myself and Geek Boy and Golder, I don't know if your affection for movie is as deep as ours, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, it's almost like music for us. I mean,
yes,
and it's like it takes you back to when it was released. I mean, you know, we've talked about, you know, like we're talking with The Rock, but I mean, when we watched Batman with Michael Keaton for the very first time, standing outside the theater waiting to get in because you couldn't buy hours, and you not and not being able to pre-purchase your tickets to go to early or get assigned seating. You just bought a ticket and hey, save me two seats next to you when you get in there, and you had to put the coats on there to save those seats because they'd get taken away and everything. And first time when we went and saw Predator, Geek Boy, you remember when we were doing that?
Yes.
And the guy that was sitting in front of us, he's like, punch him in the nose. Oh shit, that man ain't got no nose. That is literally verbatim what someone in the audience was said towards the movie theater. And you know, and I'll even throw out there for Mr. Narwhal. I mean, when UHF, when we went and saw that one.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, you know, of course, you know, he got to be in the movie and everything. But,
wow.
So, you know.
But here's the thing. This is like the last bastion of that type of, this was one of the last probably experiences like that. You know, we had Titanic come along later, and we had a few other things, but I would say that The Rock was the pinnacle of my cinematic appreciation. You know, again, if there's one, and I will be perfectly transparent. If there's one place where The Rock falls down, even though it's beautifully shot, the car chase, the geography gets a little wonky on it, and but still, it's such, you know, even though that's not executed as well as I think it probably could have been compared to the rest of the movie. You know, my kids are always joking every time we we take pictures, and I take like let Michael Bay get up here and take his pictures. You know,
Yeah.
I learned every one of these camera angles from watching The Rock. They all think it's from Bad Boys, but it's from The Rock. So, yeah, it's just it's probably the most flawless movie Michael Bay has ever made. It is it just and I will say this, you know, you talked about it being kind of like music. If you want to talk about, there are several sequences in cinema where the score, the editing, and the everything, all the stars line up. One of which to me is the escape from the Death Star in the original Star Wars when they get in the cannons and they're shooting that piece of music. I can't imagine it going with anything else. Like that piece of music was made for that sequence. I mean, yes, it was, but I mean, it's like nothing else would work there. When at the end of the movie, and I'm hoping, hey, Laurie St. Clair Vanpool is on. All right. So at the end of the movie, after we pretty much resolved the main problem, we're not going to get any more rockets launched at San Francisco, and Nicolas Cage is laying there after he's injected himself with atropine, but then he remembers, oh my God, they're going to bomb this island. You know, I've got to light these flares and get out there, and he's jacked up on atropine, and he's moving in slow mo, and those planes are coming down, and you've got his fiance begging them, please call this off. That is one of the most perfectly edited sequences in cinema history. Yes, I said that, and I will defend it till the day I die. You take the way that's cut together with Hans Zimmer's score and every camera angle, it just doesn't get any better than that. That is Michael Bay at his Michael Bay best.
I would say the only scene that I would put that up against is the Armageddon scene between Liv Tyler and Bruce Willis when she's saying goodbye.
Right.
And I mean the soft music and and literally the conversation. I mean, to this day, it's still a heart wrencher. I mean,
it is, yeah.
Oh man. So no, I get it, but yeah, man, those scenes right there speak worlds to me and stuff. So.
And to me, it just shows what a great, and going to go back to what Goldar said. When Michael Bay was young and hungry, man, there was no filmmaker that could touch him. And I'm sorry, even to this day, unless your last name's Spielberg, Coppola, Lucas, or Cameron, there's nobody that wouldn't want his career. Nobody that wouldn't want to have his career.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest in saying that I honestly, Armageddon was probably my favorite film that he put together.
Really? Okay.
But the reason I say that was I think that it was so good that they tried to rip it off and make the core, and that movie that movie sucked.
Yeah, that movie sucked ass. Yeah, yeah.
Even though I'll still watch that because you know I like Stanley Tucci and Aaron Eckhart and Hilary Swank. Ridiculous film, but they totally ripped that off. But still, either way, you know, watching The Rock, the first time I you know, the early times I remember watching it, I remember like this movie's pretty sensational. Like the way that they shot it and the music and the situation that was going on, like it was one of those films that it was kind of like at first, like the first few minutes, you're kind of like, okay, these people are kind of like hyping this up to be like a little bit more than it really is. Like they're kind of overacting here a little bit, but then you start sucked into it and you're like, oh wait, this is really good. This is what's going to happen next. Let me keep watching. Let's see what they're going to do. It sucks you in. Like you get so totally sucked into this movie. And by the end, you're like, that was fantastic. Like, I can't believe I doubted this, like in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and again, go ahead. Sorry, Reverend.
Oh no, I was just green 100. I'm like, praise it.
Well, like there are so yes. So again, having just watched it, and again, keep in mind, folks, we're here talking out of our ass. We've never made a movie. Okay, we've not worked in Hollywood, but we've shot stuff. We've stood out in the cold and flown a drone past a building 50 fucking times to get the shot we wanted. We've done other things. Okay, we've got to do it again. Can you do that again? Only like this. I mean, we've done. So I'm watching this movie and I'm seeing shots that I'm like, oh my God, you set your camera up and lit it for that 2 seconds of film. Like there's a scene when they're interrogating Sean Connery's character and the character that not John Forsythe, William Forsythe's playing. He's basically going to give him like, I'm done talking to you. here's a quarter, call your lord. And he flips the quarter, and then you see a close up of the table of the quarter, and it falls off. I'm like, you know how much effort that took to set the camera up to see that quarter spinning for 2 seconds? Or then there's another shot toward the end when they're chasing Nicolas Cage and he jumps off a building, and he's by the lighthouse, and the camera is set up so you can see the lighthouse and the wall and the gunman and Cage, and it lasts 2 seconds. And I know Bay did this. He wanted to catch the sunlight the way that it did. I'm like, dude, this took hours to set up this shot, and it's 2 seconds of film. And you brought this movie on time and under budget. My hat's off to you, sir. I mean, again. See,
this is why we saved the segment to the last, because there was a lot of hate from the Geek Boy earlier with our whole card segment and all that. So you can see he's all excited about.
Dude, I gotta watch this movie again. The Rock is now a tourist attraction. You know what I mean?
So I got a question for the both of you guys. So if you could have Michael Bay go back and redirect a movie that was made in the last 10 years that wasn't what you were hoping it would be, what movie would that be?
Oh, you know what? I got it. I think I got it.
What's that?
It's a Good Day to Die Hard.
Okay.
Because that movie sucked ass. Especially coming off the heels of Live Free or Die Hard. That movie, I mean, it would have been a mediocre movie anyway, but coming off the heels of that, yeah, it's a Good Day to Die Hard. I would love him to because I'd like him to take the Bad Boys approach. Go, okay, Bruce, this script sucks. So here's the point of this scene. So just do your Bruce Willis thing. And then I'm going to do my Michael Bay fabulousness, because nobody blows shit up like Michael Bay. Nobody. That's my nomination right there.
I think if I had a Michael Bay redo one, I think I'd like to see him do Fast and Furious.
Oh.
I mean, the car chase scenes alone would be so badass. I mean, what he could do with some of that shooting.
Wow.
Woo! Man, I don't even know which one I would want him to do. I mean, maybe just start with the original.
Can I have a mulligan?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, go ahead, go for it.
Because this film's older than 10 years. The Miami Vice movie.
Oh yeah.
Because to me, Bad Boys is what, in my mind, the Miami Vice movie should have looked like.
Oh, I agree.
But the Miami Vice
I think
movie
Bad Boys 3 should have been the Miami Vice movie.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because I have issue. I enjoy the Miami Vice movie, but I don't love it. I have some issues with it. Again, it's made by Michael Mann, so I can't really bitch too much about it. I'd be like Bob Kane directing a Batman movie, and you say it sucks. It's like, well, okay, but yeah, I just have some issues with it. It wasn't what I had hoped it would be, but I think because Bad Boys had come out before, it was. I mean, to me, that I'm like, holy shit, this is what a Miami Vice movie should look like. And then I got a mind, or even Collateral. But I think either the Miami Vice movie or It's a Good Day to Die Hard.
I would.
You got a choice there, Goldar? What you got?
Yeah, I would have him redo that first G.I. Joe movie.
Oh, good choice,
That's
man.
a good choice.
Woo!
I think it's a little bit older than 10 years, but
it is.
Yeah, that's
2009.
Yeah, but I would have him redo that, because I feel like
another good one.
I feel like he would do better at doing G.I. Joe than he would Transformers. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Wow,
Man,
that's an excellent call.
That's an excellent choice.
Excellent call.
And he kind of leans into some things that could be kind of like a little bit cheesy at times or a little bit corny, but like G.I. Joe is kind of cheesy and kind of corny at times.
Yeah.
So like if you lean into that, like people are gonna love the shit out of that. So I feel like that would be.
Wow,
man!
Excellent. That's a good call.
That's a good one, man. That's a
good
one.
And I enjoyed the first G.I. Joe movie a lot.
I did too.
There were things about it that again I could have lived without.
Yeah.
But and the funny thing is the second one, was it Retaliation? Is what it was called?
Yeah.
They actually tried to make it more G.I. Joe, and it's like everything you're doing is pissing me off. It's like
wrong.
How do you make a G.I. Joe movie where Cobra Commander's got his correct helmet on? Okay, and you put Bruce Willis in it, and I'm still freaking hating this movie.
Hey, we're going down the wrong path, guys. Let's back it up.
I know.
We got him happy. We got him happy.
I know.
We start talking positive.
I'm still happy. I'm talking about
Hang
The
on.
Rock.
Oh, there you go. Get you back. Smack you back into happiness right there.
That's right. No, hey man, I love The Rock, and it's just a great movie. I mean,
It is.
if there's an action, it is a perfect action film. It really, like I say, it might lose a half star because of the car chase, and I don't know if we want to get into my reasoning why that. I mean, I think it's a very exhilarating scene, but the geography of it is not quite right. Like you can't like the one thing that the Fast and Furious movies do well, and particularly the Gone in 60 Seconds remake. You know, you understand the geography of where you're being chased and and that doesn't quite really work that way. The cuts give it energy and excitement, but it's like there's one shot of the Ferrari that Nicolas Cage steals. Again, spoiler for a 25-year-old movie. Where the camera is like attached to the side of the Ferrari and it's moving down. You can see it moving through San Francisco. It's like they needed like 5 more shots of that, you know, for you to kind of understand where we are and what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, that's a very, very slight ding at an otherwise perfect film. So
I agree.
So what else we got?
That's it, guys. That was the last one. So I think we're ready to wrap it up for the evening. Another great show. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight.
Yeah.
Great turnout. Love being on the show with you guys. So deeply want you
nice having you back. Nice having you back because now I don't have to push buttons. I can just talk.
I know.
And that's my specialty. That's right. So I want to thank everyone, much like the Reverend. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. We've had Lori Van Poel join us. We've had Jason Barker on. We've had Courtney. We've had Mr. Narwhal, the headmaster himself. I think did you say Lisa was tuned in for a little bit?
Lisa tuned in. You got JD who joined in.
Got
Slaughter. Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter was here. We had a great group tonight. So we're going to sign off. But tomorrow night, I want to remind everybody, we've got our 2-hour big Sci-Fi Friday, 2 hours. Voice in the Wilderness parts 1 and 2.
Sci-Fi Friday.
That's right. It's gonna be an epic Babylon 5 presentation. And I guess the plans are now we're all three gonna be there in the same room. God help us. And it's gonna be awesome. Then over the weekend, we've got another episode of Nightcrawlers dropping. And next week, Mr. Narwhal is going to premiere exclusively on the YouTube page his Fanurism flicks, which is going to be fantastic. And then at some point we're going to be moving over there, but I think next week we'll still be on Facebook. We'll be back with the show next week, and God willing, something else happens. And we got a lot of other special stuff lined up. But until then, for the Reverend IT Geek and for Goldar, I am the Geek Boy. Thanking you for tuning in. Signing off. Peace.